Have you ever stopped to think that something you take every day, believing it's good for you, could be silently putting your brain in danger? Picture this scene. It's 7 in the morning. You're in the kitchen preparing your coffee. You grab that bottle of vitamins bought at the pharmacy to boost your health, and without realizing it, you're giving your body an amount that could pave the way for a serious brain problem that very day. Thousands of people over 60 do this daily, believing that vitamins are always safe, always beneficial. But there's a truth that almost no one talks about. Some vitamins, when taken in excess, can harden the body's blood vessels, thicken the blood, or even cause internal bleeding. And the most frightening part is that this usually happens at night. When the body relaxes, blood pressure naturally rises and falls, and we become more vulnerable. I've seen sad stories of people who followed the package instructions perfectly, never imagining they were putting their own lives at risk. That's why, in this video, I'm going to show you which are the 5 most dangerous vitamins when used incorrectly, how they can affect your body while you sleep, and most importantly, how to protect yourself and use only what really makes a difference for your health. Because there's a fine line between nourishing your body well and overdoing something that could be fatal. Number 1. Vitamin D and the hidden risk to your brain. You probably have a bottle of it in your house right now. Vitamin D, the one everyone says is good for bones, immunity, for almost everything. But let me tell you the story of Walter, a 74-year-old gentleman who believed he was doing the best for his own health. Walter woke up early, drank his black coffee, and, with pride, swallowed his vitamin D capsule every day. "I'm taking care of my bones," he'd tell his wife. For 2 years, he repeated this ritual without fail, believing that the more he took, the better it would be. Until one ordinary morning changed his life forever. What Walter didn't know is that the excess of this vitamin was turning his body into a silent trap. When you take too much, calcium builds up in the blood. And it doesn't just stay in the bones, it starts sticking to the walls of blood vessels. Imagine a garden hose, flexible and pliable. Now imagine that hose hardening, turning into an iron pipe. That's what happened inside Walter's body. On a simple Tuesday, while watching television, he felt sudden dizziness and his left arm became weak. Within minutes, he was at the hospital with a stroke. The doctors explained that his arteries were hard and full of deposits that prevented blood from reaching his brain. The most treacherous part is that there's no warning. You don't feel pain, you don't have a fever, there's no discomfort. It's an invisible enemy that acts slowly, especially during the night, when the body's pressure naturally rises and falls, and we become more fragile. The truth is that, for many people, small amounts of vitamin D would already be sufficient. But on pharmacy shelves, the capsules usually have doses much higher than most people really need. It's like someone taking several pills at once, every day, without realizing the risk. If you use vitamin D, always ask your doctor to monitor your levels with tests. Avoid taking it at night, and pay extra attention if you also use calcium or heart medications. Because what your body needs is balance, not an excess that can put at risk the very heart and brain you want to protect. Number 2. Vitamin E and the risk of brain bleeding. There's something that seems as harmless as putting oil on a door so it won't squeak, but that can make your brain bleed from the inside. Vitamin E gained fame for being a friend to the heart, memory, and youthful skin. But the story of Evelyn, an 81-year-old lady, shows that not all help is really help. Evelyn was already using a medication to thin her blood, prescribed by her doctor, because she'd had circulation problems years earlier. She was stable, her routine was peaceful, until a friend recommended vitamin E, saying it worked wonders for memory and even made skin more beautiful. Evelyn thought, vitamins never hurt, why not try? 3 weeks later, she woke up with a terrible headache, blurred vision, and fell on the kitchen floor. At the hospital, they discovered she was having brain bleeding. What happened was simple. When used in excess, vitamin E makes the blood too thin, like water flowing from an open faucet. And since Evelyn was already taking a medication that thinned her blood, the combination became dangerous. The fragile little vessels in her brain couldn't handle it and started to leak. The saddest part is that Evelyn only needed a small amount of vitamin E per day, something that normal eating would already provide. But the capsule she took had much more than her body really needed. It was like putting 40 spoonfuls of sugar in a cup of coffee. The excess turned what seemed like care into silent poison. Evelyn survived, but was never the same. Her right hand doesn't obey. Her speech became slow, and her memory, which she wanted to protect, now fails constantly. If you use blood-thinning medications, like those indicated for the heart or to prevent clots, taking vitamin E can be like playing with fire. And even those who don't use these medications should be cautious, because high doses can make fragile vessels rupture without any warning. The lesson is clear. When it comes to your brain, excess is never protection. Often, it's balance that really saves your life. Number 3. Vitamin B6 and the hidden danger to your nerves. Harold was always an active man. At 76, he still fixed things around the house, tended the garden, and drove everywhere. Until he started feeling something strange in his hands and feet. Constant tingling, as if thousands of tiny needles were poking his skin. Then came weakness, imbalance, falls. The doctor said it was just age-related stuff. Harold believed them, but the symptoms worsened. He could no longer hold a key properly. He stumbled on rugs he knew by heart. His daughter suffered seeing her father, once so strong, becoming increasingly fragile and unsteady. What no one suspected is that Harold was being poisoned little by something he thought was helping his memory and energy. Every day, he took a supplement to strengthen the nerves that was loaded with vitamin B6. He thought, if it's for the nerves, it must be good for me. But the reality was different. When consumed in excess, vitamin B6 can damage the very nerves it's supposed to protect. Imagine the electrical wires in your house. They work because they have an insulating cover around them. Now imagine stripping those wires, leaving them exposed and fragile. That's what happened to Harold's nerves, dose after dose. The truth only came to light when a neurologist decided to ask about supplements. Harold showed the bottle with pride, thinking he was proving how he took care of his health. But the doctor realized immediately. That amount was like taking poison disguised as a vitamin. The big problem with B6 is that the body can't get rid of the excess quickly. It keeps accumulating in the body, like a silent toxin. And when symptoms appear tingling, weakness, falls, most people think it's rheumatism, advanced age, or even signs of dementia. Harold stopped the supplement immediately, but it was too late to recover everything. Part of the damage was permanent. Today, he walks with a cane and needs help with simple activities he used to do alone. The human body needs very little vitamin B6, and most already comes naturally from daily food. But many supplements promising energy and memory come loaded with doses far above what's necessary. It's like putting too much salt in food. Instead of seasoning, it becomes poison. If you feel tingling, weakness, or are losing balance, don't immediately accept that it's just age. Check the supplements you're taking first. Your nerves are too delicate to be destroyed by an excess that could be easily avoided. Number 4. Vitamin A and the pressure inside your head. Dorothy always took pride in her appearance. At 79, she dressed up every day, took care of her skin, and wanted to keep her vision clear. That's why she started taking vitamin A capsules daily. It's to keep my skin young and my eyes healthy, she explained to her family. At first, it seemed to work. She thought her skin was even better. But over time came the headaches. Then her vision started to blur. Dorothy stumbled more, felt dizzy, and sometimes her speech came out slurred, as if she were confused. The family was worried. Could it be dementia? Some circulation problem in the brain? Common tests didn't show anything clear, until in one consultation, Dorothy casually mentioned that she'd been taking vitamin A capsules every day for years. The doctor stopped immediately. What was happening was slow poisoning. Unlike other vitamins that the body easily eliminates through urine, vitamin A accumulates in the liver and tissues, like liquid filling a reservoir with no outlet. Over time, this accumulation created dangerous pressure inside Dorothy's head, as if her brain were being squeezed from the inside out. The symptoms she felt, headache, blurred vision, dizziness, slurred speech, were signs of this internal pressure. If it continued, she could suffer serious brain damage or even lose her vision permanently. The irony is that Dorothy didn't need all that. Most multivitamins already bring enough vitamin A for the day. But believing that more is better, she added other supplements on her own. The problem is that, with age, the liver works more slowly, and what's left over takes much longer to be eliminated. It's like trying to empty a sink with a clogged drain. Eventually, the water overflows. Dorothy was lucky. When she stopped the supplements, the pressure in her head began to decrease, and she managed to recover part of her quality of life. But she spent months with pain and limitations that could have been avoided. If you take vitamins, pay attention to the label. If, besides the multivitamin, you also use capsules for skin, hair, or vision, you might be accumulating vitamin A without realizing it. And when it comes to vitamin A, the line between nourishing and poisoning is much thinner than it seems. Number 5. Vitamin B3 and the dangerous ups and downs of blood pressure. Frank was always careful with his health. At 72, he controlled his cholesterol, measured his blood pressure every day, followed everything the doctor recommended. When he heard that niacin could help lower cholesterol and improve circulation, he decided it would be extra protection. He started taking capsules daily, right after lunch. At first, he noticed some strange effects, hot flashes and his face turning red for a few minutes. It must be the blood circulating better, he thought. But soon came the palpitations. His heart would race suddenly, then seem to break abruptly. Dizziness came and went as if he were on a rocking boat. One day, reading the newspaper in the living room, Frank felt something frightening, sudden mental confusion. For a few seconds, he didn't know where he was. His vision darkened, words came out slurred. His wife rushed to call emergency services. At the hospital, they discovered Frank had suffered a mini-stroke. What Frank didn't know is that, in high doses, niacin turns blood vessels into a real roller coaster. First, it widens veins and arteries, making pressure drop suddenly. The face turns red because blood flows too freely. But soon after, these vessels constrict abruptly, and pressure shoots up like a rocket. This oscillation is an enormous burden for the heart and brain, especially in advanced age. It's like driving a car pressing hard on the accelerator and brake at the same time several times a day. Eventually, the engine can't take it. Frank also discovered that even the versions of niacin, called no flush, sold as safer, can still cause these blood pressure ups and downs, besides disrupting blood sugar and causing irregular heartbeats. The body needs very little niacin, and daily food already provides this amount. Frank, without realizing it, was taking much more than he needed. It was like throwing a flood into a pipe made for a thin stream of water. After the scare, Frank abandoned niacin. It took months until his heart and blood pressure returned to balance. Today, he understands that his attempt to protect his heart almost cost his life. The lesson is clear. When it comes to niacin, especially for the elderly, excess is never protection. What seems like a health boost can, in fact, pave the way for the worst. Safe alternative. Real and balanced nutrition. Margaret arrived at the office carrying a bag full of supplement bottles. At 73, she took 17 different capsules every day. One for bones, another for the heart, several for energy, a few more for cholesterol. She spent more than $60 per month on this private pharmacy she'd set up in her kitchen. The problem? Margaret was always dizzy, with high blood pressure, unbalanced, and ironically, with no energy at all. Even so, she thought she needed even more supplements. "Doctor, what else can I take to improve?" she asked me. I made a bold proposal. "Let's put away all these bottles for a month and see what happens when you nourish yourself with real food, not pills." She widened her eyes. "But doctor, how will I stay healthy without my supplements?" We started simple. For breakfast, instead of 5 capsules, Margaret began eating a boiled egg, half an avocado, a slice of whole grain bread, some berries, and a handful of nuts, all accompanied by 2 large glasses of room temperature water. The egg provided clean protein for muscles and brain. The avocado brought good fats, which help with mental clarity. The whole grain bread released steady energy, without those spikes followed by fatigue. The berries offered natural protection against cell aging, and the nuts, with natural omega-3, took care of the heart and memory. 2 weeks later, Margaret called me surprised. "Doctor, my blood pressure normalized. I no longer have dizziness, and I have more energy than when I was taking all those energy pills." The secret is simple. The body was made to receive nutrients from food, not from isolated capsules. When you eat an egg, you receive protein, but also vitamins, minerals, and compounds that work together. A capsule delivers only a concentrated dose of a single nutrient, which often overloads the body instead of helping it. Margaret discovered that dark greens protect the brain better than any memory capsule. That simple fish like sardines and salmon take care of the heart better than expensive supplements. That berries and nuts protect against strokes more effectively than synthetic antioxidants. Today, 6 months later, Margaret uses only a basic multivitamin occasionally and invests the money she used to spend on supplements in fresh and varied food. Her blood pressure is controlled, her energy returned, and she sleeps better. The biggest lesson she learned is this: nourishing the body with real food is infinitely more powerful than filling it with capsules that promise miracles. Because the human body needs nutrition, not medication disguised as vitamins. You've come this far because you care about your health, and that's already a victory. But now I need to leave you with a truth that can, in fact, save your life. The body at 60, 70, or 80 years old is a precious machine. It needs care, balance, respect, not bombardments of megadoses in capsules. Think about your liver. It has worked without rest for decades, filtering everything you ate, drank, and took. Today, it works more slowly, more sensitively. What it eliminated easily at 30 now can accumulate and become poison. Your kidneys, your vessels, your heart all deserve gentleness, not the burden of excess. The supplement industry profits billions by spreading the idea that more is better. But the reality in hospitals is different. There we see stories like those of Walter, Evelyn, Harold, Dorothy, Frank, and Margaret, people who lost quality of life trying to gain more health with pills that promised miracles. The most treacherous part is that signs of vitamin poisoning mimic exactly the problems we want to avoid. Dizziness that seems like high blood pressure, weakness that seems like just age, confusion that seems like dementia, headache that seems like stress. It's as if the remedy disguised itself as disease to avoid being discovered. Your greatest protection is the information you just received and the courage to look at the bottles in your house with new eyes. Read the labels, ask your doctor, listen to your body. If you feel something strange after starting a supplement, don't ignore it. Show this list to your trusted doctor. Get regular tests. And remember, you've come this far with wisdom. You don't need miracles in capsules to continue living well. Your independence, your lucidity, your energy, your ability to love and be loved. All of this is much more valuable than any promise of eternal youth sold in a pharmacy. Take care of yourself with the same care you dedicate to the people you love. You deserve to live each day with dignity and tranquility, not with fear that your own care might turn into hidden risks. Now you know something that can save your life and that of those you love. These 5 vitamins, which seem so harmless, can turn into silent dangers. But today, you have the knowledge. When you look at the bottles in your kitchen, you'll realize that true care isn't accumulating capsules, but choosing with wisdom. That's freedom. That's power. Imagine waking up tomorrow without that constant doubt, am I doing this right? And feeling the peace of knowing your choices are safe and conscious. Imagine your family sleeping peacefully, knowing you're truly taking care of yourself. And now I want to know, which of these stories spoke most to your heart? Was it Walter with vitamin D? Evelyn with vitamin E? Harold with B6? Dorothy with vitamin A? Frank with niacin? Or perhaps Margaret, who discovered that real food is more powerful than any capsule? Leave your comment telling which vitamin you're going to rethink. And share this video with someone who needs this information. Sometimes, a simple conversation can prevent a tragedy.